Thanks for joining us, Dave Noriega and Debbie Dujanovic, along with BYU psychologist Tom Golightly. And Debbie, so often when we're doing the show, there's just so many angles. We don't have time for everything, but this is a crucial angle. And we thought, Dr. Tom, you'd be the perfect person to kind of walk us through this. So if you're unfamiliar with the story, Debbie, let's set it up a little bit for the people that are joining us.
State school board member Natalie Klein
Debbie's Wi-Fi is
posted.
not awesome right now.
Oh no!
Did we lose Deb?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Dr. Tom, are you with us? Is your mic working all right?
I believe it is. Can you hear me?
Because I don't hear you either. Do I hear anybody? There we are. There you are.
Can you
No,
hear?
sorry.
So let me just go ahead. Are we good? Okay. So can you hear me now, Dave?
Yeah, I got you.
Can you hear me? Am I good?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're the most important part of this conversation because parents need to know, and because we need to know how to talk to our children. So what we're talking about is a big story that's been breaking, and we've been covering it all morning long at KSL News Radio. And a child, she's a teenage girl who plays basketball at a Granite School District school, had her photo posted, and according to KSL 5 TV, it was her full face from what they were told from this girl's parents by Natalie Klein, who is a state school board member. And it was on Ms. Klein's social media on her Facebook page for what I could tell for hours. The post in its totality, Dr. Tom, along with the comments, including the comments that were left by what appeared to be numerous adults, insinuated that this girl, who is a girl, is transgender. She is not. But in the meantime, the school district has rallied behind this family and this child. They are taking measures to make sure she is safe. The comments about her were absolutely horrific. And so Dave and I were wondering, as a longtime psychologist, and also dealing with athletes. I mean, she is a high school athlete who's been accused of something like almost like playing illegally. She's not. She is a girl playing on a girls' basketball team, but these accusations were flying all over this Facebook post. So we're wondering, what is the impact when adults bully a child online to the victim? Why don't you start walking us through this right at that point?
Well, I appreciate that you're sharing all of the different angles, right? Because I'm just trying to imagine this poor young woman taking the floor tomorrow night, right? And that is going to be just a thing in and of itself. But when we talk about, I've even been on your show talking about cyberbullying and bullying peer to peer. But wow, the power differential between an adult in power, but not just an adult in power, but an elected official. And we're talking about a huge power differential there. And I know that there's the political side of that, but from the human side of that, there's definitely a real victimization going on here. And that can lead to a lot of feelings of lack of safety, of just feeling out of control of a situation. And that's something that when I work with athletes, we're really trying to say, okay, what can we control? Well, this controversy showed up to her. It wasn't anything that she invited. It wasn't anything that she wanted. And now all of a sudden, she is smack dab in the middle of this, right? And that's where adults should know better, right? And elected officials should know better, especially ones that are elected officials for keeping kids safe in schools. They should know better. So there's just so much there from the victimization end, and so those are some of the things that really pop up. But also, a disruption to routine. I'm sure there's and they're trying to protect her from this. I appreciate the parents' efforts and KSL's efforts, and we're not going to name this person. We're not going to say what school, and it's really hard to totally do that in some ways.
I was thinking, we make honest mistakes, right? You'll see a little baby and you'll misgender the baby, and that happens. And every once in a while, this is terrible. You're like, hey, congratulations to a woman that you think's pregnant, who is not pregnant, and those those are kind of innocent mistakes that happens in life. I think what really changes in this story is that it was very clearly trying to send a specific message. It wasn't just an innocent mistake, and I think that's where it really crossed the line.
And when you look at negligence, for example, just the definition of negligence, it's kind of knowingly making that mistake. And I know that sometimes parents will post pictures of their kids and maybe they're at the ER or the hospital, and that always makes me kind of feel like, well, did the kid want to be put on the social media, laying there in the hospital bed? And and that's maybe a little more innocent, but you're right. I think the intent here was to politicize it, was to be out there, and the target was a minor. And so it's really important then for all the people around her to help her reestablish a sense of control somehow, letting her make decisions about things and to reassure her safety in those moments. I think my fear in this situation is what members should know. Suicidality is much jump from being okay to suicidal very, very quickly. They're looking for permanent solutions to temporary feelings. And this could potentially be a real triggering thing. So I think supporting this individual that's been impacted should be paramount to anything else that we talk about here.
Dr. Tom, I love what her parents did, and they spoke to KSL5 television when they saw this post. She doesn't have social media, so they waited for her to come home from school, and then they directly addressed it with her. And I thought, what great parenting skills. She's a teenager, she's 16 years old. So to me, I thought the parents just were absolutely spot on by speaking openly about it and acknowledging it to her and then asking her, about her feelings.
And what I love about how they talked about that on TV, I saw the news story last night. It was factual. It wasn't, oh my gosh, here's the end of the world. Oh my gosh, here are the implications. Now we've got your back and we're going to protect you and you are safe with us. And that's really, really important messaging from the parents. But it was also just, here's what we're dealing with. And the more we speculate, the more we assume, that's where we're going to really not help the person that's been victimized. It's let's be factual about this and let's have a plan to deal with the facts as they come in. And it's kind of dropping maybe a level on actualization models where you're just like, no, let's survive this for right now and we'll thrive later, but let's get through this initial push and we've got you, and being that secure foundation is going to be a huge component for parents in that situation.
One of the things that the parents said was, when they talked to her, because I asked them, I said, what was I didn't ask them. I was asking the reporter that had spoken to them. I said, how did she respond to that conversation? And the parents described it like this. On the outside, she's very kind of calm, cool, and collected, very tough exterior. They were more concerned about maybe what was happening as she was internalizing some of these things. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit for the kids that have the tough exterior, but some of the emotions that are still happening inside.
I think the play there, because I see a lot of individuals, adolescents specifically, and adolescent athletes. I mean, when you're an athlete, you're kind of taught, hey, let's manage this difficult emotion and let's just perform, right? And at that young age, you kind of overgeneralize that skill a bit. And so here, when something big is happening, that might be a normal reaction to just kind of say, let's put this away real quick. But continuing to say we're safe. You can say whatever you want about this. You're calling all the shots on this, but we're here when you're ready to talk about these things. So I think it's really important to keep inviting. If at the start, there's the boiling under the surface and you might not see it right away, but just keep giving opportunities as a parent.
You said this so incredibly well at the beginning, Dr. Tom, and the way you put it really resonates with me.
Sorry, Deb, I think you dropped out there. Are you getting anything of that, Tom?
I didn't get any of it. I ended at she.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where she was headed on that, but uh, when an adult, uh, I guess part of what surprises me is that an adult would knowingly address specifically a minor, and a minor by name, and you know, there's already a privacy issue that in a line that was crossed there, but I think knowingly addressing the fact that this was a minor in the post, it's a big head scratcher for me.
And I think that's my emotional reaction, right? That the adults are failing the minor in this situation. And most of the adults aren't. Let me point that out. I should say that so many are rallying around her appropriately, but how much damage does one cause? And in a moment that might have been flippant, I don't know if it seems like it couldn't have been, right? It seemed like it was measured and calculated, and I'm not sure how we can skip over that the adult in the situation that should know better, that's an elected official, really just dropped the ball here in so many ways. And even if you look at, say, the mission of the State Board of Education, I think it's in the mission statement is to provide equal access to every student. And like you limited access right here. There's no way to kind of skip over the fact that this young lady's opportunities have been impacted.
Dr. Tom, I know you have to run. Can you just give us your best psychologist tip on how the community, the school can help her going forward? Because Dave said something before the show today that I thought was really pretty profound, and that is sometimes you can throw too much attention on a child, and so we want to find that balance. What's your suggestion?
Well, I think this is true of any type of victimization. Her needs have got to come first, right? And so I think if the community can recognize that, and I would really want to talk to her. If I'm her coaches, if I'm a sport administrator, we're going to roll out the ball here, tomorrow. And, how do you want this to look? What is it that you want to have happen, and really empower her to make some choices about these things. But also, her close group of friends, her teammates, those can all be really good helps to keep her a little insulated and just know, hey, we've got your back. We love you. We know who you are, and we know you're going through a lot. And we're going to be walking hand in hand, step by step with you through this whole process.
So great advice, Dr. Tom.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time, and we know you have another appointment. Otherwise, we'd keep you here for an hour. But
I'd love to.
That's usually how you do it, right? An hour at a time.
Thanks for being so well. Thanks for being so willing to help our children. Thank you so much, Dr. Tom. Dave, stay on here for just a minute. We'll give our listeners a chance. If they want to post a comment here on our Facebook post, that would be great. But I did really appreciate, Dave, how you had the back of this teenage girl today during our broadcast, during the David Dujanovic show, that you showed zero tolerance and made that very clear for a post like this. And then you brought this up at the end of our show, which is she's not transgender. Okay. The person, the school board member who had posted this did not check before it was posted. And then the commenters, of course, just went, said horrific things about this child. Then he raised the question, even if she was transgender, there's a law in place in this state. She may very well or any child who is transgender may have been approved by a commission to play in that sport. You don't know that. You don't know that because that process is private. Talk about that more.
So that was a crucial element to this story. Number one, the fact that she was accused of being a transgender girl playing on a girls' basketball team, and that was just wrong. That's one layer to it. But let's say, for example, some child in the future is in the same situation, this is a totally separate situation, different hypotheticals. I don't want to bleed the two together, but let's just say if there is a transgender girl that is playing for a girls' team, the state law says that is not allowed unless a few things happen. So, what the appropriate steps are is if there's a transgender girl wants to play on the girls' softball team, for example, she's got to go to the school and request eligibility. And then there's a whole bunch of steps that she needs to go through. Oftentimes it's a doctor that will advocate, that will describe the treatment. A year of hormone therapy is often required. And then it comes before a commission, a state commission that's supposed to be very private. That's the key. And they will determine whether or not that person, that child, is eligible to play. So the school knows about it, the administrators, the coaches, they know, and then the commission gives final approval. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. That's up to the commission. And they very well could say, no, there is too much of a competitive disadvantage, and they'll say, no, that has happened here in the state of Utah. We know of that. So that's the first step. Now, if the commission were to say, yes, you can play, this transgender girl can play on the girls' softball team, for example, and then a parent or a coach or a player has an issue or a concern, you wouldn't say it's okay to shout from the stands and yell from the rooftops that this is wrong. Like, that's common sense. Of course, that wouldn't be allowed. So if you are a coach, a teacher, a student, the next step is you go to the school and you ask about the eligibility. And is that fair? And they can give you their answer. You could go to the Utah High School Activities Association. You could ask them. You could ask the opposing school, and bring your concerns up there. Nowhere does it say you should go onto your social media platform and just start blasting out your opinions.
Alan posts on Facebook, we don't need bullies in charge of kids. Alan, thank you so much for your comment. I do want to address where we're at in this process right now with State School Board member Natalie Klein. We have, as a news organization, reached out to her to invite her to tell her side of the story in this. During our show today, we did not get confirmation that she would be joining us. However, the Democrats on Utah's Capitol Hill, which of course they're in the minority, but they did speak out today live on our show, on the David Dujanovic show on KSL News Radio, condemning what has happened with that post, calling for her immediate resignation. They joined and echoed the parents' call as well. This child's parents have called for this board member's resignation. The Democrats have joined that cry for her resignation. Additionally, the Democrats, right about the noon hour, told us live on the air that they were seeking another avenue on Capitol Hill, meeting with legislative attorneys and others on Capitol Hill this afternoon to determine if there is a pathway to impeachment for state school board member Natalie Klein.
And to be clear, okay, after Miss Klein put up this thing on social media, several hours later, I don't know exactly how long it was up, she removed it. She deleted the post, and then she issued an apology, and she apologized several times. Now, you can read the apology for yourself and see if it was sufficient, if it was enough, it was sincere. That's your determination to make. But she was very clear. She apologized to the girl, the family, several times throughout that. But at the same time, the damage had already been done. The picture had been out there for many hours and with many comments on it. So I just wanted to make sure that people were clear that the post is not still up on Facebook. It was taken down, it was deleted, and an apology was issued.
It was issued. Yeah, I have it here. It's quite lengthy, as you said, and it is available. You can read it online at kslnewsradio.com. And we will, of course, continue to track this story. We've got several reporters and producers throughout the newsroom at KSL working different angles of this story. And as soon as we know more, we will be passing it on along to you. Jeff Kaplan will have the latest this afternoon, starting at 3 on his afternoon news, which goes from 3 to 7. So plenty more. And we also have a show tomorrow morning, Dave and I do, at 9 a.m. from 9 to 11.
Yeah, and just one final thought I had, Debbie. I was thinking, if this were my child, it's very easy to put yourself as a parent and with kids, put yourself in this situation. I just want to be very clear that I hope instead of embarrassment, instead of shame, that this child feels the support and love of the community, that she can walk through the halls of her school with her head held high as her parents described, in her baggy clothes, that she is completely comfortable with herself. And it sounds like she is, but she has nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be embarrassed about. The people that should be embarrassed are the adults that threw out these hateful accusations, the adults that piled on. That is who should be embarrassed, not her.
We'll leave it at that.